Hello, 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 and welcome to Growing Your Mindset. It is Future Forward Friday, and it is June 9th, 2023, episode 140. And today we're talking about accountability hacks. Adam, take us away, brother.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Justin. Good morning, everybody that has been waiting anxiously for 7:30 Central Standard Time to come along. And wherever you are in the world, good morning. I'm so thankful that you guys are here with us today because we're talking about an important subject. We're talking about something that has been very helpful in my life over the last year, I guess my whole life, but really focusing on being aware of these things over the last year and being intentional about it. But yes, accountability is a really amazing subject because it's one of those ways we can stay motivated. It's one of those ways that we can keep moving forward. And we talk about accountability in a lot of different ways in this podcast. And I think there are a lot of things that we can leverage with this idea of accountability. There are a lot of hacks that we can get into. And I know this is kind of like a buzzword these days, hacks, life hacks, this kind of thing. And I think it is. It's a little clickbaitish, but at the same time, these are, things that we can use. Like today when we look at a hack, what is a hack, right? It's like this, some kind of shortcut that you can improve your life, level up a little bit, or save some time. And we're all trying to figure out ways where we can, save a little time or improve on things. And I think hacks are one of those ways that we can really do that.
Yeah, and I agree. That's the definition of a hack. Unless you're watching, what is it, the 5-minute hacks, because then those are just crazy stuff that nobody's ever going to do. And they don't actually save you any time, and they don't actually, most of them don't actually work. They're
Yeah.
frauds. But it's funny. My kids and I watch those, the 5-minute crafts. That's what they call them.
5-minute
It's
crafts.
like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Yeah, the crew from Scorpion, with that all belong to Mensa would have to be involved in the project, and you'd have to have thousands of dollars worth of tools. Those they're not.
They can boil it down in 5 minutes on the video.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but yeah,
The video's 5 minutes. That's it.
um, I can't tell you how many times I've watched one of those little shorts or something. I'm like, wow, that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to start doing something like that. And in whatever aspect. And I think that these things can really help um, so much in our lives. And a lot of things I think we can remember is it's important for us to try different things, right? Especially if we're trying to improve, we're trying to grow, we're trying to have the obstacle become the way. We have to be able to pivot, right? We have to be able to move and change directions, sometimes on a dime. And so I think these ideas of like hacks, like trying different things to help improve our lives, is really important because um, we don't know what can improve until we try it, right? And so I really like this idea of trying all kinds of different things. And because a lot of times the first thing we try may not work. And so we have to keep trying things until we find something that fits for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and accountability can be tough. I mean, have you ever been in this situation, Adam? And I don't know, maybe you can't identify with it, maybe you can. That situation where you start out in accountability, and then the your accountability partner is more dedicated to your success than you are. And you've sort of lost interest in that subject, or that, I mean, eh, accountability only works when the person who's uh, asking for to be held accountable desires to achieve whatever it is that they're going after. And sometimes, um, it's interesting because what happens when, a parent, a spouse, or somebody else tries to hold you accountable to something that you're not fully desiring to do. It builds resentment, right? You don't want to do it. You maybe didn't ask for it in the first place. That's not accountability.
Right.
Accountability is something where, and best when it's mutual, right? It's something you've buddied up with somebody who wants to accomplish similar goals to you, and they're going to help to make sure that you're still there. And that's one of the reasons this show works so good. And Adam and I hold each other accountable. We're, just by showing up
Yep.
each day on time, and making sure that we are able to you know, put this show together for you guys. I uh, the fact that I don't want to let him down, he doesn't want to let me down. We don't want to let you down who are watching, and so these are all tools that help, help make the alarm clock work.
And I really love that you brought up this point of what isn't accountability, because a lot of times we will hear words and we'll have negative associations with them, and we want to make sure we're being very clear with what we're talking about here. And I think at its core, accountability is all about taking responsibility for our actions. It's coming from a place that we understand how our minds work and how our social interactions work, and we can leverage those things. And so I think it just involves just owning up to the commitments that we're making, and then devising ways to make sure that we stay consistent on those things. And when we hold ourselves accountable, when we have this accountability element in our life, in the things that we're trying to achieve, we're able to actually achieve goals. Because the cool thing about goals, there's no secret sauce, right? It's just one step in front of the other in the same direction. When we're going, we're eventually going to make it there. No matter how slow we're moving, we're eventually going to make it there. And I think this consistent action gets us there way faster than we were originally anticipating. But it also helps with our own personal growth, right? It helps with our own development. There's so many things that accountability can help with as well, like building trust and in our relationships. Because Justin and I have been doing this, it's just 6 months now, right? About 6 months. We've been doing this a little longer now, I think, and we have developed such a great friendship. And we hang out afterwards. We pray together. We talk about our families, and we're involved in each other's lives, and it builds that trust, right? I know Justin's not going to let me down. I know when I get on in the morning, even if I'm running late, he's here. And
And
vice
likewise.
versa, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we're looking at like accountability, there's so many benefits to having individuals and I guess other ways to hold yourself accountable. And one of the big things for me is procrastination. I am the master procrastinator. If like they say, if it wasn't for the last minute, I wouldn't get anything done. And and this is one of those things that accountability will help me with, because I I have to get these podcasts, scheduled, and all these things going on just for with, we're talking about this, and, you know, being held accountable. We're having, expecting, you guys are expecting us to be on here. Like, these things help me fight that procrastination.
Oh, I love that. It's interesting. Angie just shared a book, How to Do the Work, by a Dr. Nicole Lepra. Anyway, thanks for sharing that with us, Angie. I'm going to check that out now. It's not one I'm familiar with, but it sounds like an amazing book. The subtitle to it is Recognize Your Patterns, Heal from Your Past, and Create Yourself.
Mm,
Sounds pretty dope.
yeah, yeah. Sounds a lot like Gain Living there, for sure. Yes, I love those kind of books. And thank you, thank you, Angie. And so when we're looking at accountability, like, there's so many powerful things that this one tool can help us with as we are moving forward, trying to be the best version of our future self, right? And so um, I want to kind of jump into some things that have been helping me and in my accountability and staying accountable and doing all the things that I have to do. Because as I think, as we get older, as we become more mature, and we start developing skills, whatever those skills are, developing our skill set, growing personally, we start even taking on more hats, right? And it's the more developed you get, more skill sets you have, the more responsibility you get as well. And a lot of times you have a lot of people depending on you, or there's a lot of things that you want to achieve. And how do you achieve those things? One of the ways is holding yourself accountable, and there's so many ways to do this.
Yeah, I mean, the most basic accountability tool that we have, or personal accountability tool that we have, is a calendar, an alarm clock,
Yep.
anything in which we're keeping track of what we do, a schedule. These are all tools to help us. to help us to be accountable. But that's not what the show is about today. It show's about hacks. So,
Hacks.
um,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
because these things we already know, right? We already know that, you know, if I want to wake up tomorrow at a certain time, set the alarm. And if I want to be, for me, I'm going to set the alarm 2 hours ahead so that I can hit snooze a couple of times before I get there.
Know
Uh,
thyself.
um, but what are some of these crunchy, creamy, chewy
Yes.
hacks, brother?
I think the first one and the most easy one, I can't say that because it may not be easy for some people because it makes because it's holding you accountable. These things aren't easy, but be vocal. Be vocal. Tell people your plans, tell people your goals, and just by speaking it out into the universe, it does something powerful. And I don't know how many times that I've thought something for years. And it wasn't until I actually started talking about it and told some about it that I started actually making progress toward that goal. And I think just by telling people this is a huge hack, it'll hold us accountable.
Yeah, it's so hilarious. Brian just said life hack, growing your mindset. I love that. And so this is a countdown list, and no matter what, the number one is going to be and being here in the gym for growing your mindset. So
Yes, yes. And so after we're telling people about this, right? We're doing those kind of things. We have to get on a more intimate level. You know, we have those special people in our lives that we share things with. For me, it's my wife. You may have a
mhm.
spouse, a partner, business partner, a best friend, whatever it is. Leverage these people in your lives. You know, so many times I've been wanting to do something and I'll forget, I'll procrastinate on it, but I can tell my wife and say, "Hey, I really want to do this. I really need to get this accomplished. I need your help." And this is the converse of what Justin was saying, right? Or you have somebody that is trying to push something on you and it's like, "No, don't do that." But but this is the other way. Like this is coming from internally. And when we have those people in our lives that love us, that want to see us succeed, and we're asking them for help, they feel empowered, they feel needed, and they're going to rise to the occasion more often than not.
Yeah, 100%. And it's super important, I would say, in finding ways to leverage those around us to help us to remain accountable to those goals that we're setting for ourselves. That um, that we don't get into a place where we're asking for help, accountability help, that we really don't want.
Yeah.
That's important too, because that's I mean, and unfortunately, I've done that. I've gotten ideas, lost interest, asked for help, accountability help, and and then you know, you're just it's just doesn't work in the proper way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
very interested in hearing more of these hacks, though.
Yeah, and I think to that there, that's why it's so important for us to be clear on what we want, our goals, because a lot of times we'll find ourselves chasing other things, just jumping on the bandwagon for some challenge or whatever it is, and it's not something that we have sold ourselves on. And these things that we're talking about here have to be things that we are really committed to, and this accountability has to be like from internally, because I think even then what you're talking about is still like, someone's like, get a battle buddy, do this, and make sure you stay accountable, and we're just kind of you know going along with the flow still.
Right. Well, and I think it's important to understand that, it's important how we leverage our accountability partners, because oftentimes, if we're choosing someone to help us who has a drill instructor personality, their help might be something that ends up not being as beneficial to us as if their approach to helping was less drill instructor like.
Yeah, unless you need that, right? Because some people thrive in that environment. But this
That
goes
is
to what
true.
you're saying. This goes what you're saying, that if we for a battle buddy, because this is another hack, right? Having somebody that you can share your goals with, your to-do list, whatever it is, these things you're trying to accomplish, and on either daily, weekly, basis, monthly basis, whatever it is, And there's lots of ways we'll do this, and we'll kind of get into more of these in a second. But the compatibility of this person, that's so important. I've had so many people that I've started trying to do like accountability calls with and have a battle buddy or whatever you want to call it. And it didn't work because, maybe I was too, I was the only one like actually making the effort, or they were, and I wasn't really feeling it. Or like you said, there's a lot of times when the personalities aren't there, and we have to make sure that when we go into a situation like that, hey, let's try this out. Let's try it out for a week or two and see if it's the right fit, and like really come with those upfront contracts, those expectations. So you're not hurting people's feelings, you're not feeling obligated, and you can, have an out, and they can have an out if you need it, because it's really important to make sure that this is something for us, right? And not in a selfish way, but hey, we got to make sure that if we're leveraging somebody to hold us accountable, that it's going to be the right compatibility match.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, if it's something where it stirs your rebellion rather than stirs your motivation, and I think those two emotions, motivated and rebellious, are ever present in me, right? And I imagine that I'm probably not the only person who goes through this. If um, if I've set up an accountability situation where the person helping me cares more about what I do than I do, then there's a problem. Because it stirs up rebellion rather than motivation. If the person that I've partnered with cares on the same level as I do, then that helps with motivation,
Yeah.
because then there's that feeling of partnership and whatnot. But like you said, Adam, some people do thrive better in that. Hey, I'm not going to do it unless I have a drill instructor.
Yeah.
But for that, it's probably a situation where you want to do something paid. You want to pay somebody to do that, because
Mhm.
because if you don't, if somebody's doing that at will, once you hit that rebellious stage, it's easier to just be like, it's
Yeah.
done. And if you really need that help, and then pay for it.
And this brings us to a really good point. Sometimes mentorships and paid coaching is the way to go. We see, there's a, no secret when you see a champion, whether it's in whatever sport, whatever athletic competition, they have coaches, right? They have trainers, and then the really good ones, they have even more coaches and trainers and specialty coaches and nutritionists and sports psychologists and all these other things, right? And so we see the direct benefit for these things. And a lot of times when you need that drill instructor type of, hey, I know I have to make a huge quantum leaps in these areas. I need someone to push me, maybe even be mad and I might get mad. A lot of times this will be something that will be better off being paid for, because, and then you're not crossing boundaries. There's kind of a thin line there, when you're trying to push somebody, because I feel like in accountability, and this is, the difference between, I guess, maybe something like a paid coaching thing where you have somebody that's holding your feet to the fire. um an accountability thing that like I'm experiencing, I do a daily call right now with my accountability partner, and I also do a weekly call with another guy. And so these are two very different things that we do. But the thing is, we never are judgmental over the other person. It's like, hey, you said you're going to do this. That never happens. And you have to make sure that when you're doing this, you're being a good support partner as well. And, so, yeah, and just it's a very matter of fact thing. This is what we got done. This is what we didn't get done. This is why. And this is what I may be able to do better in the future. And when we do that, and you can do this on a consistent basis, progress always happens.
Yeah, and that's super important. I mean, the fact is that somebody who takes that much of a role in your success
Yeah.
is just going to quit if you're not equally into it. And so that's kind of where I was going with that point. But man, I so appreciate how you picked that up there.
Yeah, and back to like this idea of a daily accountability partner. This is a really cool thing because Somebody you can have it forces you to articulate, okay, this is what I have to do. And not only just articulate it, like scribble down something, but you have to explain it to somebody else. And what I found was that I was totally disorganized in the very beginning when trying to do
Mm.
this, that I was all over the place. I had so many different things going on at one time, and it was a mess. And saying it out loud, I'm like, what in the world is going on here? I'm not going to make any progress. I'm trying to go east, west, north, and south at the same time. And so just the fact that I was having to articulate this to somebody else made so much difference, because now I'm like, this is not gonna work. I got to make some changes here.
So we're at 21 minutes after. I imagine you prepared a list of these hacks, so let's jump right into them.
Yeah. So some of the other hacks that we have here is joining organizations that meet consistently.
Mm.
So for me, I don't miss church. It's that people are depending on me. I teach and this kind of thing, and so I'm there. I was thinking, for the last 10 years, I'm there 3 times a week. That's like 1,500. That we rarely miss unless I'm sick or something or out of town. And so, joining organizations, I also am a part of a networking organization that meets weekly. And these kind of things force you to prepare for whatever is going on during these things. And so, if your goal is to get fit, have a more healthy lifestyle, maybe joining some of these classes that people have going on, where it's like a weekly meeting, these kind of things where you're forced to go and do things. This was the great thing about sub 2, right? There's always some kind of thing that you have to go to, like the daily dial, these kind of things, and you have to show up every day for it. The same as this. I know this is not an organization here, but we have these things consistently where we have people showing up, and this is one way that we are holding ourselves accountable. So we're going to be here at 7:30, and we know other people are going to be here too. So what are we going to look like if we don't show up?
Right, and
Yeah.
that goes hand in hand with the idea of having routines, right? So not only join consistent groups that are doing consistent activities where they're meeting up together, but you can also gamify or give yourself a boost accountability wise by having regular pattern routines.
Yes, and when we're doing these kind of things, and there is a fine line though. We have to make sure that we are using these things to our benefit and not the other way around. Because I know a lot of times we will go into something like for instance, a real estate meetup. We'll go in for there's accountability to make business, to do these things, and it just turns into a social interaction, not really what we intended on doing originally. And so I think when we're holding each other accountable for things, like especially when it's like this, the more efficient that we can make it, the better. And my calls don't last very long. And because, if I'm on the phone for 45 minutes to an hour every day, that can be a drain of my motivation, because it's like, is this really worth it? But if it's like a really quick, 10 minutes, hey, this is what I got on my list today. This is what I didn't do. This is why. And all right, we'll talk tomorrow. And so this is really important, that we have to understand, that we have to make sure that we are I guess just being real clear with these things.
Yeah, and that's great. Angie just points out that she's been doing Elephant Challenge trainings every Tuesday and Friday, and it's been consistent for almost a year. So, yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good job. That's exactly what we're talking
Yes.
about.
And another hack, this is, I guess, it goes hand in hand with accountability. It's writing down these goals, like writing down the goals. I like to keep it in a notebook, and then every month go back and revisit these things. And what this does is show you all those past wins, all the progress that you've made, which helps you with that motivation to keep going forward.
It looks like maybe you're having some mic issues, at least on one computer. I'm hearing you just fine, so
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else is having that problem. Angie says she doesn't hear it, so we will move on. But Julie mentions that there's a Boise meetup with Pace tonight, so I'm guessing that's Boise, Idaho. So you guys, if you're in that area, you're not going to want to miss that. Pace Morby, our mentor, is amazing, and a meetup like that is going to be an amazing one for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And meetups are always good, these kind of things, and we just got to make sure that we are being efficient with our time when we're doing these things, that they are being used for the purposes intended, for sure. One thing that I love from Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy is this idea of the win streak. And I'm not sure if this is in the Gap and the Gain. I think it is. I think it may be on the Who Not How book. I'm not sure. But this idea of the win streak, where you have somebody that you just text every day. So in the evening, he talks about, he has this guy he texts, and they have their three main things. And he'll say, I got two done, I didn't get one done. And then the next day, then he has the three things that he's going to get done the next day. And so this is like an evening added to your evening routine kind of thing, where you can just text somebody your list from yesterday, or from the previous, the day you just accomplished, and these are the things I did, and then these are the things that I'm trying to do for tomorrow. And this is one of those ways that just that expectation, that preparation, it just pushes you to, because someone else, someone else is going to be showing up.
Yeah, make sure the person that you're texting knows what you're texting them for, though.
Yes.
Um,
Prearrange this. You have to have equal, because
good
this, yeah.
for you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at accountability, when we're looking at these things, there are we have to really know ourselves, right? And know what works for us and what doesn't work. Because I think a lot of these things may work for you, may not work for me, or vice versa.
Right.
And I think my number one accountability hack that I use in my life is, this won't work for everybody, but for me, is my kids. Um,
Mm.
I tell my kids things, and I will have them hold me accountable to those things, and I will tell them like that too. Like, we do an evening routine in our house where every night, more or less, 9 times out of 10, we'll have it, and we do a thankful circle. We all sit around the couch in the living room. We'll talk. We'll say one or two things that we're thankful for, and then we'll pray, and we'll have some kind of discussion. Oftentimes it's spiritually related, but when we first started doing this, I told the kids, "Hey, I want to do this. Like this, I want to do this every night where we're talking about our gratitude and we're doing these things, but I'm gonna forget. So you guys got to make sure that I don't forget." And I think we're going on 7 years now. 7 years doing this.
Oh, and I can testify. It's a powerful thing when you empower your children to help with accountability. They're going to take it very seriously,
Yep.
and that can be, yeah, it can be a real rewarding in the sense that not only are they holding you accountable, and you're holding them accountable, even though they don't really even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're setting up a pattern. It's something that they're learning from, and being helpful to you at the same time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and when we have people in our lives that know us and that get us, and we say, "Hey, this I'm not going to get this done unless you help me with this. Please, please, please help me with this." And we are showing the sense of urgency, like we are putting forth this effort. And I think a lot of times, just by doing that helps me. Even if they don't respond, so many times I will just say something out loud so I won't forget it, to somebody. Hey, I'm just reminding you to remind me to, that I don't forget this. And just by saying it would help me remember it. And I think it's the same way with accountability and, moving toward those goals. If we just, say those things, it really holds us to them.
Oh yeah. Well, and I don't know about you, but I mean, there's some illusions that I don't want to shatter. I mean, I'll move heaven and earth not to shatter the illusion my kids have of me.
Yeah.
I mean, because it doesn't take much. I remember when I realized my dad wasn't a superhero.
Mm,
And that moment was more difficult because it was an area of, I wasn't emotionally mature enough to handle the fact that he wasn't who I thought he was. I mean, he wasn't as bad as he could be, but the pedestal that a kid puts a parent on is pretty high,
yeah.
or can be. And so to have them come down to earth is is a little groundbreaking. I mean, at the same time, I don't want my kids thinking that I'm something that I'm not.
Right.
But I'm trying to shoot for consistency. I want them to be able, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe I wasn't the strongest, maybe I wasn't the fastest, maybe they didn't have illusions of me there, but I always kept my word.
Yeah.
I
Always
loved
humble,
them.
always honest.
I
Yeah,
right. I did those things that were important, putting them and their circumstances above my own and that sort of thing. I don't want to burst that bubble.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And I think when we do that, when we predetermine the standard that we're going to hold for ourselves and let other people know what that standard is, that's accountability.
Yeah, 100%. My goodness, man, it is time for our last affirmations of the week, brother.
Let's go.
All right.
I think I led 2 weeks or 2 days in a row. I was hogging it. It's your turn.
All right. Well, I can do this.
Let's go.
Here we go. Because I am committed to my growth.
I am committed to my growth.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
I am loved, appreciated, blessed, and highly favored.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Challenges are opportunities for me to improve.
Every day I am getting better and better.
Every day I'm getting better and better.
I am my best investment.
I am my best investment.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
Life happens for me. Everything is for my growth and benefit.
I am an action taker.
I am an action taker.
I am committed to being the most positive person that I know.
I am committed to being the most positive person that I know.
I am a fixer. I'm somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything that I'm connected to.
I am a fixer. I am somebody's answer. When you get me, you get everything that I'm connected to.
I am healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Indeed, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Let's go.
Oh.
All right, you guys, have a crunchy, creamy, chewy weekend. It is going to be amazing. Lineup for you next week. We've got our whole gambit of shows, Motivation Monday through Future Friday, and we will be here 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time each one of those days. We've got a lot of stuff that we're doing in the background. Let me get this fixed. Boom. And man, I just want to take a moment and express my gratitude for the folks that are regularly part of this show with us every day. You guys show up, you guys encourage us, you guys, part of that accountability that we have. I mentioned it before. It's you guys. We wouldn't dare miss showing up for you guys, and we're so excited that you guys have trusted us with your mornings, and that we have the honor and privilege of getting to share the stuff that we're learn along with you guys, and each of us take steps to becoming our best self. It's
Let's
amazing.
go.
We love it.
Thank you, guys. We love you so much.
All right, we'll see you guys not mañana, but on Monday.
Monday.